ראיתו שזה נראה נורא?
אנחנו כבר בשידור. It's very, very beautiful, and hello to everybody. I'm so happy to start our first session in our conference in English and to welcome here Lior Argaman, a beautiful lady and very, very strong leader, not just only of youth and young adults, but in general, and my colleague that I really, really appreciate and love to work with. So Lior Argaman, she's the Director of the Youth and Young Adults Engagement Department in World Union for Progressive Judaism. And I am so proud to give her here a stage in our FSU Friends Stay United Conference for former Soviet Union. Lior, welcome.
תודה רבה, ריטה. It's really an honor to be here, and thank you very much for having me. Welcome everybody who are currently watching us. It's lovely to have this conference. Even though we don't have an opportunity to meet in person, we do have a chance now to share some best practices and learn from joint experiences, which you will see soon that is all across the globe. We are dealing with same issues, and hopefully we can bring some of the solutions of the things that we are doing. So in this coming session for the next 45 minutes or so, we're going to talk about youth movements in times of fluidity, meaning when things are changing. We're going to examine specifically what has been happening with Netzer activities around the world, and also youth and young adults activity that are not Netzer related. And we're going to take a look in different places and their solutions to the situation, and rather say adjustment. At times what we do is adjust and not only finding solutions. One second. So I'm, as Rita said, I'm the head of the Youth and Young Adults Engagement Department for the World Union for Progressive Judaism, and we have one task. It's a huge task, but it's one. And what we are doing is to cultivate the next leader of our global movement. What we want to do is to make sure that we have a future, that we invest in our future and make sure that there will be progressive Judaism in the future. Netzer Olami is one of the main platforms through which we do and achieve this. Netzer Olami is a vehicle through our Netzer branches around the world. Basically, we have 16 branches that are active of Netzer in all the continents, starting with Australia, that was also the first Netzer branch established over 40 years ago. We have 3 branches of Netzer in the FSU, in Russia and Ukraine and Belarus. We have Netzer in Israel, which is called Noar Telem, Netzer in South Africa, all across Europe, Germany, the Netherlands. We have 2 branches in the UK, RSY and LJY. One is Reform and one is Liberal. We have Netzer France, Nifty, which is the affiliated, it's our sister movement, and it's affiliated with the URJ, the Union for Reform Judaism, who are great partners. In Central America, we have Netzer Panama and Netzer Costa Rica. And we have 2 branches in Brazil. One is called Colônia de Sip, and one is Havaiandava, that is also part of the Scouts. So we are, as you can see, spread between 15 different countries. We've been active for over 40 years all over the world, and we have over 10,000 graduates, specifically of Israel programming and coming to seminars that we are doing in Israel. But as you know, a youth movement is something that is very, very wide, and it affects different circles. So you send your kids to go to camp, they come back and they influence what is happening in your family, and they speak with their friends and their grandparents and everybody around them in school, and you widen the influence circles around the youth movement. A year ago, almost a year ago, our world changed, and it started somewhere in Asia and slowly came everywhere, and it had a huge effect everywhere. Well, once Corona broke, we needed to find new ways of doing things and seeing things. It was a huge break something really difficult and challenging, but it also made us jump forward and decide how we want to deal with the situation, how we want to change things that 10 years ago, if anyone asked us, we would have said are not possible. It's not possible to do something like this. We can never take all our activities and move them online. There won't be a chance to have a Netzer camp online. But then reality strike, and this is what we have to deal with. This is what we need to do. And with quite a challenging situation, we needed to adapt. So in Netzer, all over the world, and with youth and young adults engagement and activities, we had to do quite a few things. Some of them were an immediate response to the situation. The example I gave here is to stop Shnat Netzer 2020. We've been planning this year for a long time. We've been working really, really hard to make it a reality. We had 26 excellent participants that came to Israel in late January 2020 to start the brilliant program that is called Shnat Netzer. Shnat Netzer is the gap year program, leadership program for 18 to 20 years old of the progressive movement in Israel. The headquarters of Netzer Olami are leading the program, headed by the brilliant Orit Sagi. And we started this year with a lot of enthusiasm and anticipating of what's going to happen and making sure that we invest in the next cohort of leaders in our progressive communities around the world. Unfortunately, due to the corona, once the Israeli government announced that there will only be able to have up to 10 people maximum in any venue at all, we realized that it won't be feasible for us, and we won't be able to guarantee the safety and security of our participants, and we had to send them home. So that was a very, very painful decision. One of the things that we did manage to do is to make sure that they had quarantine education. So upon their arrival back in their home countries, Australia, South Africa, the UK, we kept providing them with activities. Moreover, we realized that the group decided to stay together in their respective countries and make their own mini communities to continue Shnat together, which we found fascinating and we loved the idea. In general, all over the globe, we had to pose ongoing activities. We couldn't meet anymore on Saturday or Sunday in our different communities around the world. We couldn't risk bringing people together. And we needed to basically find a new way. As we all know, the main way to do it was to move everything that we are doing online. But that requires skills that not everybody have, and not necessarily all our Netzer Madrichim were equipped to do things that are exciting and engaging, and to get all the kids on an online platform. So that required a lot of investment. A good example of it was the training that we did for the FSU Madrichim, that we taught them how to use different platforms, how to make sure that they are engaging and not only using Zoom all the time, where you don't really get to see people, you get to see different boxes. And that's quite tough. So doing this training for the Madrichim was crucial for them to later be able to run brilliant events and camps and very successful engaging programs. So that's definitely true for the FSU, and well done for the people who organized it and did it. And that's also true for other people and other regions that we have around the world. So part of this learning of new skills required us to learn how to use Zoom properly, how to make sure that we have places for them to engage, so use the breakout rooms, but also learn about new different platforms that will allow us to share our ideas and feel interactive with and engage with everything that is happening. All of us across the regions really adapted very, very fast to the new reality with creating online opportunities, which I'm going to share with you in a second. From us, on behalf of the headquarters of Netzer Olami and the World Union, we did a few programs that were quite successful. The first one is called Progressive University. I'm going to speak about it in a second. Netzer Olami and social media. Just so you know, we are still very much in the Corona era, but we do hope that we can be able to start our new Shnat Netzer of 2021 this coming January. So hopefully we can still obey all the rules and regulations and maintain safety and security now that we know how things are working and what are the things that we need to not to do and things that we need to do. So as I mentioned before, we created a few opportunities, and I'm going to share with you first the opportunities that we, as the headquarters of the World Union, created, and later on things that happened globally, worldwide. The first thing that we did was Netzer Olami. This is a leadership program for our 16 and 17-year-olds from around the world. And these people came together for 2 weeks in a row, every day for one session of an hour and a half, learning some different skills about time management and engaging people and motivating chanichim, kids, to join our activities and stuff like that. But the main point of this was the ability to network with people from around the globe. So when people from Brazil sat together in the same training with people from Netherlands, that created not only an understanding of the meaning of being a global movement, but also to share best practices, what is working there, how things are being done, and how we can improve. So this brilliant opportunity was the project of the Netzer Mazkira, who is the chairperson of Netzer, Nikki Braun, and she led this wonderful program. Two highlights of this program, aside from what I just mentioned of networking and getting to know and sharing best practices, is that we were able to also share global events at the same time. We did a remarkable Kabbalat Shabbat that was shared, and everybody, both from the Netzer Olami, but in general from our communities around the world, were invited to join us. This was quite fascinating and brilliant to see this. People coming from all over the globe. And one of the things that the online platforms allow us is to bring and attract people that never came to our communities and never took part. But now that they have the way of doing it from the privacy of their own home and the comfortability of sitting in on their own sofa in their living room and still join like-minded people from around the world is something quite unique and fascinating. So one of those was the Kabbalat Shabbat, and the second was the Havdalah that we ran. Just imagine having 100 people joining your Havdalah service, and then every prayer is being led by someone else around the world in a different region. This is the meaning of being part of a global movement, the progressive movement. And for us, it was also a great case study to show the new and the younger generations how things can be done globally, and that they're not alone. They're not a minority within a minority like progressive Jews are around the world. They're actually part of something really big. Another opportunity that we created is called Progressive University. This was more for the ages of 20 to 30s, which we would call young adults. And basically, we took the different values of our movement, which are Reform Zionism, Progressive Judaism, Tikkun Olam, youth and young adults empowerment, and we took these and offered intense courses, each combined of a few sessions, intense sessions that are spread over a week. This program was completely free of charge, and we were able to get to people that we never met before in all our programming. Before, we used to invite young adults to come and join us in Israel, to come for a seminar, to meet us a year ago, exactly a year ago. We had a young adults program together with the World Zionist Organization in Marseille, where we brought over 60 young adults from around the world to join. But now we were able to reach to those who are not our immediate people, not the ones that are in the circle already and get our newsletters and know about everything that is happening. One of the things that we offered there as well was the Ulpan Ivrit Hebrew lessons, intense course of 2 weeks, which received the highest scores and was quite fascinating to bring people together For some people, it was over their lunch break. They would come for daily sessions for 45 minutes. Someone would be in their lunch break while the other one just finished their dinner, and the last one is just waking up. And this is the meaning of bringing all of them together. The topics were quite varied. We also made sure to record all the sessions that took place and make sure that we store them and can use them and refer people to do that and see what we've been learning. Another thing that was quite successful is our presence in social media. One of the examples that I brought here is the Instagram TV that was a project that Orit Sagi from the Youth and Young Adults Department led. And it was to tackle different issues that youth and young adults would be interested in, and also at times really correlate with things that are happening, current affairs around the world, not necessarily only in Israel. We brought people from the movement, people that grew up in the movement or still belong to the movement or are really affiliated with it from around the world to run different things. So here are a few examples of the different Instagram TV programs that we ran. The first one we had about annexation was with Ben Crom. Ben Crom is an Ole. He made Aliyah. He moved, immigrated from the UK to Israel a few years ago. He used to work for Netzer as the head of education. And he came to give us a lecture about annexation and then followed by questions and answer session. We had one about the protests in Israel, inclusivity, gender and power. And when we saw of the things that are happening overseas with Black Lives Matter, we also decided to dedicate one of the sessions to that topic, and all of them quite successful. And as we can see also in this very session that we are here now, a lot of the people don't tend to join the session itself, but rather be exposed to it later through Facebook. And that's not limited. You don't have to be exact. If it doesn't fit to your exact time, you can just choose when to see it. And that's the beauty of using online opportunities. One of the things that was clear from somewhere in April is that summer camps and winter camps around the world are not going to be the same as they were until that point. Aside from equipping the people with skills of how to run different camps, every branch of Netzer had to be very, very creative in thinking, how are we going to run our camp? Some of our branches did Machane Babayit, camp from home. Some of them did, there were 2 places around the world that were able to run in-person camps. So we had Netzer France, who usually have their beautiful, beautiful Machane Netzer once a summer with 150 kids joining them. This year they had, due to the regulations in France, to split it into 2 separate camps and bring basically the leaders had to come twice and run 2 camps, consecutive camps. That was quite a challenge. And one of the things that we see, and we'll discuss this challenge in a bit, is that this is something that can be really, really tiring and hard and challenging for madrichim, for leaders. Because once you're in camp, there is something really engaging and really fun. And while you get very, very tired quite easily, there is something really holistic in the whole experience of you being a part of camp together with other people, experience the same fatigue as everybody else around you. When you're doing an online camp, this is something very, like, it presents its own challenges. And we're going to speak about it in a second. So we can see here the brilliant feedback that some camps received. This is something specifically from RSY Netzer, our camp in England. We also had camps in other places that turned online and had at some point even more than the usual number of kids that usually attend their programming, which is quite fascinating and amazing, to be honest. FSU is one of the more extraordinary places, and I want to share with you for a second a video that was done for their camp, which I find brilliant, and I'm going to share with you now. Sorry.
завтра на миссию.
Каждый год лагерь Netzer ассоциируется с новыми знакомствами, встречами с прекрасными людьми, конечно же, атмосферой. И этот год, это лето не стало исключением.
Я выбрала лагеря Netzer в этом году в первую очередь, чтобы поддержать наше молодежное движение в это трудное время, чтобы стать участником уникальной, насыщенной программы и чтобы снова почувствовать эту теплую, семейную атмосферу.
I love the ending of this one because maybe it tells us something about us needing to relax a little bit and let go. So I found it quite fascinating to see this video, and I think it also brings to the front a lot of things that are happening. You know, it's the way that you use the different leaders that you have. It's a way to bring different people that usually not necessarily would come to your camps. So you would see a lot of engagement from rabbis and community leaders and lay leadership that can be part of this. So obviously it has its benefits, but also challenges. So you can see here the Havdalah and Kabbalat Shabbat that we had part of our Machanetzer Olami. This is something that is fairly easy to organize and quite fun to see people from around the world, or like getting to know other people, and mainly seeing that when you sing the Havdalah tunes, everybody else can join you because they are doing the same thing, whether they're in Australia or South Africa or Russia or Ukraine, everywhere that they are. We are sharing so much together, and the online platforms actually enables us to bring it to the forefront of what we're doing. So our main successes, I would say, in light of what I just shared with you and what we saw around the globe, is first of all that the vast majority of the branches of Netzer specifically really adjusted their activities to online programming. They learned new skills, they trained their leaders, and you know, this is learning in process. We always improve on our abilities the more that we use something. And the more that we use Zoom, the more we know its advantages and disadvantages and can play with it. And that's true for everything else that we're doing as well. We can see that the youth are very much in the forefront. And what do I mean by that? The first ones to adjust, from my point of view, and maybe I'm biased because I'm the head of the Youth and Young Adults Department, but the first who adjusted to this new situation and reality is the youth. They have technology much easier going through their hands, as they say in Hebrew. It's something that is much more intuitive. They are used to it. I imagine like teaching my mom how to use Zoom and how to make sure that she is heard and not muted. For the younger people, it's much easier, and learning this platform is something that is coming to them much more intuitively and much easier. And that's a benefit. That's an advantage that we need to make sure that we that we learn from. We see that in many places, in many communities, services didn't really come back the way that they were. Even the online one are not managing necessarily to attract the same amount of people that the Friday night services would usually attract. But now with the youth, davka, as we say, in spite of the reality, the youth are the ones that are being really, really engaged and learning these technologies, and they're in the forefront of this. They're engaged. But beware, we'll have a challenge coming up in just a minute. It requires a lot of creativity, and thankfully, we have a lot of creative people around the world that really adjusted to the situation. One of the main advantages is the low cost of things. Think about running a Kenneth FSU, where you need to bring people and sponsor the flights and find a hotel and find the rooms, and bringing everybody together is a lot of not only an investment in planning logistically and educationally and programmatically, but it's also investment of a lot of funds. In such a turbulent year, when we have no funds available and we had to make so many changes and cuts everywhere around the world, the fact that bringing people together doesn't cost almost anything is quite remarkable, and it's good that we are able to still run our programs with very low cost. I spoke before about the wider reach, the fact that we can reach to people that never set foot in a camp or a weekly activity of Netzer or in a shul, and now they can actually join us. And one of the more brilliant examples we have is that we have a remote Netzer branch that was founded by Netzer Australia, which allowed for the first time for kids and youth from Asia to join different activities that are taking place. And this is a huge success, and I hope that it keeps on being that. This also presents many challenges, and the main ones are, first of all, that we're missing personal relations. There is no way of skipping this, that we need to see people eye to eye, that we want to feel loved, that we want to feel hugged, even if not physically. We want to see that person next to us and to feel the vibes of one-on-one conversation, or being sitting in a circle and playing together and in a service. And the personal relationships are quite hard to facilitate when you're seeing people in boxes around the world. Even in a setting where all people are coming and joining into Zoom and they have the ability to use the chat, usually the structure and the timing doesn't allow for many interpersonal private conversations. And that makes things really, really hard and challenging. Another thing is that we're quite zoomed out. People hear, oh my God, I have another Zoom call to go to. It's just like it becomes a burden. It's starting to be much less fun and interactive, which is why we are required again and again to think of creative ways of bringing things to people. Everything is still very, very fluid. So that means that we don't know really what's going to happen in a month or 6 months or even a year. We are already thinking, obviously, about the next season of camps. There is the winter and summer camps that are happening in December and January. And there's also the summer and winter camps that are happening in July and August. When I say summer and winter, I mean Southern Hemisphere and Northern Hemisphere. Obviously, when the URJ camps are taking place in North America, the winter camps are taking place for Australia and South Africa. So the thing is, we don't know what's going to happen. It makes it really, really hard to prepare for these things logistically, financially, and in terms of recruiting people. You want to advertise a program that you have, but you don't know what's going to happen and what the restrictions are going to be. The next thing is that a big challenge is that from what I've been able to see around the world, while the Netzer branches really adjusted and made great progress, being creative and engaging, young adults' activities have only been like they are a fraction of what they used to be. They are almost non-existing. When the young adults movement around the world, sometimes under the name of Tamar, not Maksimum Reformit, used to gather once a month and have a Kabbalat Shabbat or another service, a potluck dinner, a trivia night, a pub night, etc. Because this wasn't a structure that was very strict and you come every week and you gather every week for something, it just faded away. And I can see that a lot of the young adults are much harder to engage in different activities that we're doing. As I shown you before, one of the programs that we offered at the headquarters was Progressive University. And while we reached 100 people, and most of them are people that are new to us and never showed up to our activities before, still it's harder to engage because the possibilities and range of things that are happening is so wide. Think of your own email box and how many invites you get every single day for a different webinar, seminar, activity. It's just a lot. And at times you just want to stay away from the computer, and for the young adults, it's much easier. So what is for us a big challenge is how to rethink this whole area of young adults activities and how to make sure that they come back in one format or the other to engage them again. One thing I want you to think about is the next day. What's going to happen to us the day Corona finishes, once there is a vaccine or a treatment, or it's a pandemic. Pandemics don't stay forever. It's a matter of a year. It's a matter of 2 years. But what are we going to do the day after? How are we going to overcome the situation of losing a lot of people from our activities, of the changing reality of people more concerned about leaving their houses and joining groups and the activities of multiple people? How are we going to overcome the fact that people got used to not being in a camp, for example? On the one side, we might say that they will be eager to join back our activities and they would do everything in their power to join again, and all they want is to come back to camp. At the same time, this raises a lot of concerns and we don't know how it's going to turn out. And we need to stay positive and think of creative ways of making sure that we go back on track. And as it was said, the survival of the fittest, the one who is the most strong survives in nature. This is the rules of nature. However, one thing that we're learning is that it's not only about who is strongest, but much more about who can adjust. And the ones that can adjust and change their way of thinking, they change the way that they are running things and thinking of things, are the ones to survive. So I encourage us all to be doing our best to adjust to the reality. Know that things are not going to go back to the way they were so rapidly or so easily. And we need still to think wider about this and adjust the way we do. I will finish by saying that it was great being here. Thank you very much for being with me. If you want to stay in touch, please visit our website, the World Union for Progressive Judaism, wupj.org/youth, where you can find all our upcoming activities that are happening. I will say again, thank you very much for the opportunity to be here. And I do hope to see you, first of all, next year in May in Connections 2021. That is going to be an opportunity for us to gather online. But later on, and much more importantly, I hope to see you in person in the very near future. So I will stop the share now and just we'll see if there are any questions that are coming from our Facebook page or anywhere else.
First of all, thank you very much. It was very, very interesting. And I think that for all of us, and specifically for our former Soviet Union region, it's important to know not just about the Russian speaking youth all over the world, but about all other branches of Netzer and all beautiful and meaningful work that your department is doing. So thank you very much for your work and for those programs that you are creating. I have some general question. How can you see the development of Netzer Olami? I mean, like the connection between Snifim what is the role of the Jerusalem office and Netzer Olami office in our future after this post-corona era? How you see this?
So I will start with the fact that we are, as a headquarters sitting in Betchwell in Jerusalem, we don't have any existence without our partners around the world. And we are there to support them rather than the other way around. Our role doesn't change because of Corona. What we provide usually to our partners all over the world is educational materials, someone to talk to, learning best practices, networking, which is one of the most important things. So we make sure that if we want to do an exchange between Netzer Russia or Netzer FSU in general, and they want to have more madrichim, counselors coming to their camps, we organize it with Netzer Germany because we know that there are Russian-speaking communities there, and we have leaders that can come to their camps. Okay, so it can be online, but these days it's online. But usually the networking is one of the main things that we're doing in Netzer Olami. And another thing is support in general of all kinds to our branches. It can be financial support, it can be logistical support, and it can be educational one. So all of these things didn't quite change drastically over the period of Corona. And we will keep doing that and supporting all our branches with that. As I mentioned, one of the most important things is the networking. So I think that we need to create as headquarters more opportunities for young people to come together and learn that they are not alone, that the Netzer bubble in Germany is not isolated. It's not different. It is different, but it's the same-minded people that are in Nifty or in Netzer Brazil, in Havaiandava, Colonia de Sil. I think that it's important that we maintain this relationship between the different branches. For some of them, it comes really easily and naturally because some of them met before. Prior to Corona, we used to have once a year Veida Olamit, where we would bring people from representatives from all our branches to come together for a week in Israel. So they already met. And it's quite brilliant to see how they already communicate without us. For those branches who are new or the ones that didn't create these relationships yet, we are there. Another thing is that we need to expand our reach in general, everywhere in the world. We have 16 branches and they're doing amazing work, holy work. At the same time, we need more branches. Think about how many progressive Jews and progressive youth there are around the world. We're speaking about hundreds of thousands of people. We already know from research that only about 10% of kids are going to activities in a youth movement in any respective place. So with these numbers, we need to really grow. We need to think how to invest in places in Europe, in Asia, in South America, how to make sure that we bring back Netzer to Argentina and strengthen in Guatemala and create more opportunities. One of the things I did not mention yet is that this year we established Netzer in Italy. It's the first time that we have activities for progressive youth organized under the name of Netzer. And we hope that they can join and be our 17th branch of Netzer. But that's the work that needs to be done over time, everywhere, globally. So I see this very much as our initiative, something that we need to make sure that is happening together with grassroots work. It needs to come from the ground as well. As I said at the beginning of my answer here, we are here to support our branches rather than them supporting us. We don't have the right to exist without them. So we need to see people on the ground, and we are here to help them.
I have one more question. I have like a comment from our YouTube saying that the Netzer is the future of our movement, and thank you for Netzer Olami doing this work. And one more question, do you believe, when we are talking about youth movement, do you believe in big events like camps or some flagmans events like the university or Shnat Netzer program, or daily or weekly meetings on a regular basis in the community or in some Modiin Netzer club? What kind of
balance between these?
Balance between them needs to be saved.
So it's a good question, and we can see different models around the world. So for example, in France, that I mentioned before, they have the most brilliant camp, Netzer, once a year, 150 kids that are coming, and they're growing exponentially. Every year they are growing by 30 more people every year. At some point, they won't have enough madrichim, enough leaders to lead their camp, which is, I think, the best issue you can try and deal with. But they don't have weekly activities at all. Yes, they have cheder in some of the Sunday schools, in some of the shuls, and they are doing remarkable work, but they don't have Netzer weekly meetings. And I think it's a shame, because this is your ability to really bond more, to bring more people in. Camp is usually the highlight, wherever it is, okay? It's the highlight, and people are so excited about being it. It's a bubble, which is an amazing bubble. But if we want to create if we want to make sure that there are many more ripples, much more effect everywhere, we need to do ongoing activities, because that is the way to strengthen relationship with people around the world and the people in your community and outside of your community. So we can see this model on the one hand. In other places like Noar Telem in Israel, they would have weekly activities, and then they would have a seminar or a Chanukah Tiyul excursion. And then when camp comes, it's people you already know. It's people you've seen multiple times over the year, and some are your best friends, and the others are people that are potentially your best friends. So I think there should be a balance and combination between the two. There is no, in that sense, it's not that camp is the only way of doing it, because we have branches that don't have camp yet. For example, Netherlands doesn't have a summer camp yet. They're on their way. I hope they're going to have it next year. And they're doing a brilliant job, like weekly activities. It's amazing that they have it, or they have their seminars 5 times a year. They used to have a trip overseas. This is something that really creates cohorts of people that want to spend time together. And that's amazing. So I would say you need to combine both weekly activities, little peaks around the year, seminars, trips, day trips, and camp. Camp is a big festival.
And the last question, but not the least, if you can dream about in 10 years, how Netzer Olami will looks like, and which program that now is not exist, you want to create?
So in my dreams, I see that we have about 40 or 50 Netzer different branches around the world, everywhere. Everywhere that there is a progressive community, I want to see a Netzer branch that is active. What I do want to see is a joint Israel tour that belongs to all the progressive world together. I want to see a bus of people from NIFTY, from RSY, from LJY, and from Russia and Ukraine and Belarus and South Africa and Australia coming together to spend a significant time together in Israel. I think this would be the most brilliant thing. I think that we're on our way of doing this, but it's step by step, and it's very small steps. A few years ago, we never imagined that we will have birthright, a progressive birthright bus. And now we have it. And FSU was one of the pioneers of doing this, sending a bus of birthright people, Taglit, to Israel together. I want to see a global bus that brings everybody and opens the conversation and opens opportunities for networking and relationships between people around the world who are progressive.
Good dreams. Good dreams.
Rita, I really want to tell you, thank you very much for having me. Thank you, everybody who are listening and joining this session. It's really an honor and privilege, and I wish you all a great remaining of the Kenes of FSU. I know it's going to be a success, knowing that Rita is so amazing and doing such a brilliant, brilliant work with everything. So Shabbat Shalom, everybody, and I hope to see you in Israel and in person soon.
Thank you very, very much, and Shabbat Shalom, and thank you for being with us and sharing all this amazing news and information about our lovely and so amazing youth and young adults. Thank you
very much.
Shalom.